The era of whoever hoards the most GPUs wins may be closer to its end than most people think. That's the future I see peeking through the $240 million deal that IBM and Together AI just signed. AI demand is real, but the way I read it, demand being real and every GPU holding company making money are two very different stories. Welcome to Semiconductor News Decoded. I'm Ty, with 31 years inside the semiconductor industry, bringing you the real view from the factory floor. Today, using the big IBM and Together AI contract as our entry point, I'll explain how the main battleground of AI demand is shifting from training to inference, and what the companies that secure GPU will really be judged on next. Stay with me, and you'll read AI investment news one level deeper. Here's today's news in one picture, and we'll lean on this island analogy all the way through the opening section. Picture a southern island in the middle of a tourism boom. Visitors are pouring in, and island tours are wildly popular. But there are nowhere near enough rental cars. Tour companies could earn far more if only they had cars, yet the cars are nowhere to be found. The whole island is stuck with a car shortage. Then, a sub-leasing company spots an opportunity. It signs a long-term contract with the island's biggest business group and borrows a large fleet of the newest cars. It then rents them out to tour companies by the hour, bundled with a booking system and maintenance. Not just lending cars, but lending them ready for business. That's this company's specialty. For the tour companies, this is a god. Popular tours depart dozens of times a day, and they also need plenty of no-passenger driving for scouting and test runs. And the cheaper the rates get, the more cars the tour companies use to launch new plans. Even though each ride costs less, the total number of cars in use keeps growing. But this business has a trap. The payments to the big group are locked in by a long-term contract. The lifeline is utilization, keeping every car earning, never idle. Worse, the biggest tour operators push for discounts. We rent a lot, so make it cheap. A line out the door means nothing if every rental loses money. And a few years on, the supply of cars to the island catches up, with new models arriving one after another. At that point, simply having cars no longer wins you customers. Your fleet gets older, but the lease payments remain. From here, let me walk you through how this story is actually playing out in the real AI industry. On August 11th, IBM and Together AI announced a multi-year deal worth $240 million. Together AI will build a large-scale AI inference cluster on IBM Cloud using NVIDIA's latest HGX B300 systems, with service starting in the first quarter of 2027. It's the first time a large inference-dedicated B300 cluster will be built on IBM Cloud. Together AI, founded in 2022, is an AI infrastructure company that offers inference, training, and fine-tuning of open-source AI models for enterprises. Its customer list features fast-growing generative AI names: Cursor for coding, Suno for music generation, 11 Labs for voice. In July, it raised $800 million in a Series C round, reaching a valuation of $8.3 billion. The new cluster will use NVIDIA's Spectrum-X Ethernet for networking. In AI data centers, it's not just each GPU's performance that matters. The communication linking large numbers of GPUs can decide overall throughput. The initial cluster will hold roughly 2,000 B300 GPUs, and a company executive told Reuters they expect the full capacity to be claimed before it even goes live. What deserves attention is that this platform is dedicated to inference, not training. Until now, the star of AI GPUs was training, building large models. But the compute needed to run finished models inside services, which is inference, is exploding. Together AI says it currently processes 400 trillion tokens every month. A token is the small unit AI uses when it processes text. The press is framing this news as a sign of how strong AI demand really is. And that's not wrong, but my attention went somewhere else entirely. This contract stands on today's rule of the game, that merely being able to secure GPUs is, by itself, a competitive advantage. And the way I read it, that rule will not last forever. To feel the scale of inference demand, think about Suno. Channels using AI-generated music are multiplying on YouTube, and behind every finished video sits a pile of rejected songs. As generation gets cheaper, users make 10 songs, then 50, and pick the best one. Even if the unit price is cut in half, 3 times the attempts means more total compute, not less. And it's not just music. Coding AIs run inference every time you write, and AI agents plan, search, verify, and revise many times behind a single request. In the future, AI services calling AI automatically in the background may far out humans asking AI questions directly. The inference demand itself, I believe, is absolutely real. The problem is profitability. When the cluster goes live in 2027, the B300 will be roughly 2 years past its announcement. Even if newer GPUs arrive and its pricing power fades, the payments to IBM remain. Big customers will demand steep discounts, and some may move to cheaper clouds or their own hardware. It's exactly the sub-leasing company from our island story. Once GPU supply catches up, plain compute rental sinks into a price war against giants, AWS, Microsoft, Google, and CoreWeave. The way I see it, Together AI's path to survival is not becoming a small AWS. It's sharpening its optimization technology for running open models faster and cheaper, and focusing on the customers and use cases where that edge matters most. Zoom out, and overinvestment is the fate of every new industry. In the late 1990s, faith in the internet's growth drove massive fiber optic buildouts, and some telecom companies went under. Yet the cheap networks left behind went on to support cloud computing and video streaming. In generative AI too, the compute that survives the shakeout may make the next industry cheaper. That's why I see this news as neither proof of a bubble nor a simple positive. AI demand will keep expanding, but the market growing and the companies now hoarding GPUs staying profitable are 2 separate questions. A few years from now, what gets judged won't be how many GPUs you secured, it will be how much profit you generated from them. Let me wrap up. IBM and Together AI signed a multi-year contract worth $240 million, launching a large inference-dedicated HGX B300 cluster in the first quarter of 2027. AI's main battleground is expanding from training to inference, and the demand is real. But GPU access is only a moat while supply is short. After that, I believe the game becomes utilization and the power to create profit. This contract shows Together AI's growth, and at the same time, it marks the start of the real test, keeping a $240 million compute platform full and turning it into profit year after year. A bright future for AI and a bright future for every company that invested in AI are not the same thing. Keep that lens handy the next time AI news crosses your screen. That's all for today. I'll keep bringing you semiconductor news and analysis, so if you found this useful, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. This has been Ty on Semiconductor News Decoded.